Hi, this is Deanne Stansbury, and this is my interview speech. And first I'd like to introduce you to my audience, who are also my interviewees. We have Rich Malo, Pastor Kathy Sandman, and Barb Rasmussen, and Jim Rasmussen may be joining us here shortly. So the first question I have for you all is, was anything frightening or daunting to you before the trip? And if so, did you think about it much or at all during the trip?
Maybe I should take that.
Okay.
Maybe you should.
The thought of being a teacher just scares me to death. It really gave me concern. I'm not sure I'd have made it if it hadn't been for the other 4 people sitting in this room with me, encouraging me and constantly pushing and nudging me.
Yeah. So did you feel like that was in your thoughts a lot then once you got there and got started, or?
It was in my thoughts up until the time class started.
Okay.
But once we got into it and class started, it was actually fun.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Okay. And I should probably preface this by saying that we have a team, some of the team who went to Estonia on a mission trip, and that's the trip that I'm referring to. When you first contemplated taking the trip, was there a particular obstacle you had to overcome? And if so, what did it take to get past that obstacle?
Well, I could take that one. I had probably the same obstacle as Rich did. It was really trying to decide if I really could teach. And I have been a Sunday school teacher in our church, but this was just a whole different ballgame. I was worried about the difference in languages, interpreting, and how that would go in our class. And really to overcome that, I had to work through that. I asked for a lot of prayer, and I prayed as well myself. And I think that's, God really just helped me through that. So.
Did you learn anything about your teammates that you did not know before going on the trip? And I said, if this is something shareable, would you do so?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Next
No.
question.
That's fair enough.
Next question.
That's fair enough. You should answer that. Did you learn anything about yourself by going? And then I said the same thing. If this is something shareable, will you do so?
I did. Anything possible with God's help.
Mm-hmm.
But, prayer, and that's what kept me going, really.
Mm-hmm.
And encouraged me and kept me moving forward.
Me too. I just learned that I had to totally turn it over to God and trust in Him, because it really was in His hands, and He did take charge.
Did anything surprise you about the people you met in Estonia? And so will you describe that?
I think how open they were and how willing to share their lives with us.
Did you learn anything that you did not know prior to the trip regarding the country itself, as in the culture, the climate, their traditions, etc.?
Well, I think there's always a big difference between just reading about something and then actually experiencing it. So I don't know that it was a lot different, but it just somehow it becomes much more personal when you've been there.
I think on that we probably had a pretty good idea of what to expect, because Jim had been there before and had us pretty well filled in on what things were like and what it was going to be. That helped a lot.
I did discover that people can walk on cobblestone streets in all types of footwear. My husband was very worried about that before he left.
That's very true.
did going to Estonia make you see the United States differently? Come on in, Jim. Well, this is Jim Rasmussen. He was also on the mission trip, and he's joining us for the interview. My question, Jim, was, did going to Estonia, and since you've been there twice, I don't know if you want to take this one, but what I asked was, did going to Estonia make you see the United States differently? In other words, was there something that really stood out after you returned home that you just took for granted, or it just seemed normal before?
I'll think about that just a minute.
Okay.
Well, I can answer that. I definitely saw a difference in, they're not in a huge hurry there like we are in this country. Whenever we would go to eat, it would take an hour and a half to 2 hours to eat. It was very, you know, sitting around a table, talking. They just weren't as rushed as we are here. They ride their bikes to go places. They do a lot of walking. Just not the, here it just seems like we are just go, 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 you know, and everything's really quick, and it just seems like they take a little more time to enjoy their lives when they do.
Not as materialistic as we are over here. Over here it's all about things, and over there, it's, if it does, it's good enough, you know, if it works, why, that's fine, I don't worry about having something better.
I would just say, yeah, I kind of reiterate what both Barb and Rich said, and just say that I think there are people that study more than we do, at least as far as, you know, the ones we met were kind of about self-improvement and learning English, and the same way Barb said, you know, we went to a restaurant and we came home and it was just like, you know, bang, 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 you know, get through as fast as you can, get out of here, and they're just opposite that.
My next question, were there similarities that you can describe between American family life and Estonian family life, and or between our church services and their church services?
Well, their church service was more liturgical than the one that we have here, but there certainly are church services very much like that all over the United States. I think every Sunday, other than the obvious different language difference.
What was one of the most moving things you learned, saw, or participated in, and are you able to describe this?
There's so many. For me, it was knowing the history of Estonia and what that country has been through. And standing with Enoch Palmer over the bunker that he and his mother escaped to and lived in for several years while their father had been shipped to Siberia, and praying the Lord's Prayer with him, praying it in Estonian and us in English. And that for me was one of the most moving things I think in my life. It was just such a sense of, you know, I was just amazed that God thought I was worthy to be standing in that place at that time with him, and that definitely affected me.
Was there any one person you met who you felt an immediate spiritual connection with? Maybe even before you talked to them, you just felt connected to them?
Well, I think my connection was just the openness of the people that you know, once you got to know them just a little bit, how their stories and how their